something. They're asking for you to get a client off. Now, you may or may not be successful in defending Sammy when it comes to court, but that's out of your hands. What my concern would be is what position you will be in if Sammy is found guilty. Yeah? And my advice to you would be to contact the police, to take along the photo and the threat and get them to deal with that. Now, I appreciate that if you do that, there is obviously the use of illegal drugs is going to come out, and probably as the police delve into it, so will also the use of the client's money. But at the end of the day, your personal safety is what's most important. And from what you're telling us, viewing it from this position, your personal safety could be at risk. And if you don't deal with this, you're laying yourself open to future threats like this, and it could go on and on and on. And so our advice to you would be basically to face up to what you've done, to face up to what's been going on, and to call the police in at this stage.
If the police charge me, though, isn't it likely that the Law Society will then leap on that and I'll end up without a practice?
It is possible. You can actually call the Law Society for advice in this area and find out what the likely repercussions are if, say, you had a conviction for use of illegal drugs. Obviously, stealing from the client fund is going to be a serious disciplinary matter in that situation. Disciplinary proceedings would probably be taken against you, and there is a substantial risk that you'd be struck off the solicitor's roll, either temporarily or permanently. Yeah, I'm not going to... This is not nice advice for us to give, particularly not to another criminal lawyer, but I'm trying to put it before you as clearly as possible and to advise you in the way we feel best in this situation. And I appreciate it's a very difficult situation, and I appreciate we're the bearer of bad news in this case. But there's no point you paying us for advice and us not giving you that clear-cut advice. Yeah.
Natalie, I think I would also add that it would be very beneficial for you, both as a person and also with regard to how the court do view this, if should it go to trial, if you were to perhaps start seeking some form of drug counselling. And obviously the National Drug Helpline is available to you, or perhaps we could go and seek out some professionals that may have particular experience in dealing with other professionals, if you would like us to do that. But I think that would really help for your own sense of well-being, and also with regard to, if anything, if this were to go any further, you have at least some mitigating circumstances with regard to your position as taking drugs.
Okay. And as you know yourself, if you are up front right from the beginning, that counts as a mitigating circumstance in any future criminal proceedings that may be taken against you. Okay. Do you have any questions as to our advice so far?
If it went to court,
yes.
What about the idea of me representing myself? What do you think about that?
Well, you're certainly well qualified enough to represent yourself. My personal opinion would be it's probably better to have somebody objectively looking at your case, because emotionally, putting myself in your position, emotionally I would be very wrapped up in what was going on, and there might be crucial things that you miss, no matter how good you are, because it is such an emotive situation for you. And we'll just give you that kind of somebody else to cast their eye over it.
Yeah, but then we're going to come to the money, and
Here we
as
are.
I said, I've pretty much mortgaged everything to fund the fun that I have.
But as you know, if you were charged with any of these things, you'd be at risk of being deprived of your liberty. They would look at your financial resources as to whether you qualified, and if everything is indeed mortgaged up to the limit, then you may well qualify for criminal legal aid, in which case you would get your lawyers paid for. And if this gets to the Crown Court, obviously, I know you must do some of your own advocacy, but I assume you're employing barristers when you go to the Crown Court, and we could do with a good advocate on this case. Yeah.
Do you have any further questions?
Well, would it just be easier if I just get him off? And
as Sarah mentioned, you then have this issue of the photograph, which is still out there, hanging over you. And, really, how much good is that going to do to you when perhaps there'll just be another case that comes up and you put into the same position? Mm-hmm. So is a question of deferment necessarily the best thing in this situation? Again, that is your choice. But it's not as if this is going to go away. The evidence is there. You know that you were involved in this particular act.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Now, what we normally do is we summarize the advice that we have given, and we summarize the details of your case in a letter, and we send that out to you. Are you happy that we email that to you?
No. I'd prefer that you call me when it's ready and I'll come and pick it up.
Yeah, we can do that.
Now, we would hope to get that out by close of play today. Would that meet with your time restrictions?
Yeah.
All right, in which case we would then advise that you take that letter home, reflect on it. Obviously, if there are any questions that are raised once you've read that, feel free to give us another call, and then take time to make your decision, and by all means get back in touch with us if you would like to proceed accordingly.
Okay. Right. Natalie, shall we go and photocopy this form?
Yes.
Yeah?
Natalie, I'll stay here, so very, very nice to meet you, and I wish you all the best.
Very difficult position for her, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's not a great position. Certainly not a position we'd like to get ourselves into.
No, I couldn't think of any better advice, really, than going to the police. I think she has to go to the police, because this thing could really escalate. And I know she doesn't think that it's likely to be violence against her. But this chap is charged with the murder of 2 women. I don't want to end up with a heavily injured client on our hands.
No, sure. It may not necessarily be him that's got the evidence. It could be somebody else, but we are certainly dealing with those types of clients. I certainly think we can't outrule it.
Yeah.
And even as you highlighted, if there isn't a personal risk to her life, there certainly is this issue of a major big cloud of blackmail hanging over her head, which if she's operating in the legal profession is certainly not going to do her any good.
Yes,
and on the basis that this event happened quite recently, I guess, as you suggested to her, the sooner she messes up to it, the better.
Yes, yeah. Right.
Now, I think she was very, very open and honest, and I'm not sure that there was any information that was excluded. It seemed pretty thorough. Did you think she was hiding anything?
No, I didn't think she was hiding anything. It's just, her main concern was obviously revealing it to the police and the Law Society getting hold of this. Mm-hmm. But yet our advice is basically to be fully open. But I can't see, she's in such a difficult position, I can't see any other way out of it. I think we had to advise her, as we did advise her.
Yeah, and I think she definitely should go and seek some form of counselling for her drug activities.
Yeah.
Which I think I'll include those details in the letter as well, which I'm sure she has.
We ought to put in the criminal legal aid forms as well into the letter.
Okay.
In case she wishes to instruct us further. She knows what the forms are, but just so she can fill them in and we can assess whether she is eligible for it. Yeah? So are you going to write the letter to her? Or do you wish me to do it?
No, I tell you what, as I have the notes, why don't I write up the notes on the client file?
Yes.
And then if you use those notes to construct the letter,
yes,
I will. I can then have a quick look at it before it goes out. Now, she says she's going to come up and collect it.
That's right.
Are you free to be there? Because it would be nice if we could both be there to meet her when she comes back.
Yeah, well, I'm in the office the rest of the day. So what I'll do, if I leave the letter down I'll tell you what, we'll keep hold of the letter. We'll get Elaine to buzz us when she comes in.
Yeah.
We can both go down and just see how she's doing, because she'll have thought about our advice. And just see how she is emotionally, because it really worries me. It seems to me that this firm is her life.
Absolutely.
And it's really in jeopardy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
We'll